This video will show you how to replace the front outside door handle on a Cadillac CTS. This will be mounted to your front door. Let's get into it. Okay friend, let's get started on our job. Let's start removing the door panel. To do that, we're up along the top. We need to remove our door lock knob. If you are looking in this area here, you can see that we do have a square trap door. This is actually the lock for the door lock knob, so I'm using a small pocket screwdriver. You can use a small pick. Gently pull that out and away, and you should be able to lift that knob out. That's how it unlocks. Just a quick inspection of that, we'll set it aside. Now, as far as this small trim panel, it's actually part of the door panel and it does not have to be removed. So once you have it pulled away from the door, let's continue on to the inside door handle area. Now down here, we have to remove this entire plastic panel. Keep in mind there will be an electrical connector where your door lock switch is. I'm continuing on with my plastic trim tool. I want to start prying this out. I'll make my way down along this area. Once I have it all broken free along here, we're going to pull on the inside door handle and slide the entire thing out of place. As I mentioned, just keep in mind there is a wiring harness back here. Obviously, we're being aware of any pinch points. There we are. Now I'm rotating this so I can slide the door handle out of the trim panel. We have to disconnect the electrical connector for the door lock switch. It has one locking tab right in this area. For this locking tab, I like to use a small pocket screwdriver. You can also use a pick. Just make your way under it and gently pull out on that wiring harness. Every time you disconnect an electrical connector, just give it a quick peek for corrosion. If you see any, it has to be taken care of. This looks fine, so I'm going to set this switch panel aside. We'll tuck the wiring inside of the door panel. Let's make our way towards where our window and mirror switches are. You might also have a seat memory switch. We're going to remove this entire plastic panel, and we have to disconnect our two electrical connectors. As far as this panel is concerned, you're going to find that there's 4 locking tabs. You have one along the forward side here. You have a second along the rearward side. Along each side of this panel, approximately in the center, you're going to have plastic tabs that protrude out and they go underneath the door panel. So you're just going to have to carefully separate that as we continue on lifting this up and out of position. Keep in mind there are a couple wiring harnesses. As far as the forward and rearward side, there should be metal clips holding it in position, so I like to use a small pocket screwdriver. I'll come in straight, come in down at an angle, and then just start prying it up. As I'm prying it up, of course I'm being aware of any pinch points. I don't want to get hurt, but I do want to keep some light pressure. Let's continue on towards the center here. Now this is where I should have that plastic tab. I just want to try to pry this out and away. I'm just separating this. There's that plastic tab. It's starting to lift up. I need to make my way towards the rear. Along the rear, once again, you should have a metal locking tab in here. We're just going to try to work that out of position, and we should be able to lift this up and out. So looking from the bottom of the switch panel, we have our first electrical connector. This is for our large switch panel. This is for the window switch and our mirror switch. It has one locking tab here. Just go ahead and squeeze it in, and we'll pull that right out of place. You know what to do. That looks good. Continue on to the seat switch. Now this has a locking tab as well. We're going to have to press that in. It's typically done by hand. You can also use some pliers or a small screwdriver if necessary, if it's stuck in place. That looks good. Let's move towards where the grab handle is. Looking in this area, you have a small plastic trap door. This will have 4 locking tabs holding it in position. As far as those are concerned, typically once you start prying it out, the tabs should just separate and we'll roll it out of position. You can come from the top or the bottom, whatever's easiest for you. I'll use my small pocket screwdriver, something small enough to make my way in this area. As I mentioned, we're just going to pull it right out of place. There's those tabs. This looks good. Now let's have a look inside of this port. So once you remove that panel, if you were to look inside this area, you're going to find that you have 2 Phillips head screws. Let's remove the pair. There's our first mounting screw. Let's get that next one. To continue removing the door panel, we're going to carefully make our way behind the panel, in between the door and the panel itself, start pulling it away. For this, I'm going to be using a trim tool along the side. We'll start breaking it free, of course, being aware of any pinch points. With that said, let's start prying this out of place. Just find an area you can make your way in between. Generally along the side will be the easiest to start. Once it starts coming out, you can do it by hand. Just be aware of any pinch points. Now, once you have it all broken free along the bottom, we're paying attention along the top. We'll carefully lift up on this and pull it away from the door. Let's have a quick look behind this area. Quick note, make sure your window is in the fully upright position. Now that we have the door panel out of the way, let's start dislodging our vapor barrier. You can see that we do have black butyl tape making its way all the way around. This is a sealant, and it's extremely sticky. Don't get it on your skin or on your clothing. We'll just carefully start pulling this away so we can make our way inside this area. Once you've dislodged the vapor barrier, we're making our way inside of the port. Now here's where we can see our door latch. Of course, we are replacing the door handle, but the handle has a rod that leads all the way down to the door latch in this area here. Now in my application, I have a yellow connector. I'm going to be using an angled pick. I want to try to grab onto the ear and carefully separate this. There we go, just have to pop that free. After that, you should be able to dislodge that rod. Just a quick inspection of that. Now we can follow this rod all the way up. Now that we have that rod out of place, we're going to continue on. You can see that we do have another rod here, but we're going to wait on that. Let's continue on to the hardware, holding the handle in place. In the center of the handle, you can see that there is one Phillips head screw, and you're also going to find that you have two 10mm mounting nuts. There's one over here, and there's one on the opposite side of the handle. So with that said, I'm going to start with my two 10mm mounting nuts, and then I'll continue on to my one Phillips head screw. Now we should be able to remove that Phillips head screw. That will dislodge a plastic bracket from the area. Let's give that a quick inspection. Now looking in here, we can see that we do still have one more rod left. To remove this rod, it's going to be easiest if we dislodge the outside handle, carefully pull it away from the door just enough that we can start removing the lock cylinder. Now that I have this pulled away, we're looking at where the lock cylinder would be. That's this area here. Now the lock cylinder is held in place with a small metal clip. We're going to have to use an angled pick and possibly some pliers to dislodge this metal clip. Up along the top of the area, you're going to find that there's locking ears. We'll pull those ears away. Then we should be able to slide this clip down. You may have to roll it out of position, or you might have to go on the opposite side and use your pick to break that side free as well. Typically, it'll just slide right out. Right here's where that metal clip is. You can see it moving. Now, as I mentioned, you could either roll this out of place or you may have to go over to the other side. I'm going to carefully try to use some pliers here and see if I can dislodge this. There's our clip. With that metal clip out of the way, I'm going to hold onto the handle and I'm going to press the lock cylinder out and through the inboard side there. Obviously, we want to be careful not to cause any damage. Should be able to slide that out. There we go. We'll rest that down. Now we can remove the handle. To remove the handle, holding onto the handle base, we're going to do this. We're pulling on it like as if we were trying to open the door. And now we can start sliding this out of place. We do have that one rod we're going to be dislodging. That led down to that yellow connector. Now looking at this, you can see that this rod does have an oddly hooked end. We're going to have to hold on to the handle. We'll be pivoting this in comparison to the rod. We should be able to hold on to this and slide it out of position. There we are. And there it is, friend. Now, prior to installing our part, let's make sure we clean and inspect the mounting area. So we're paying attention to the door. I like to give this a quick wipe. I'm going to be using a little bit of glass cleaner, but you can use whatever you deem fit. Just a quick inspection of that door lock cylinder there. That looks good. Okay, let's get ready to install the outside door handle. The first thing we need to start with is the door handle rod. This is the last rod that we had removed from the handle. Now, as far as this rod, you remember it has an oddly hooked end at the end here, so we're just taking it, we're swinging it down into the proper position. When this is in the vehicle, it would be facing down just like this. Now, as we start bringing this into the door, we're making sure the rod goes down inside the door as it needs to. We'll get the top portion inside of the door as well, but then we still need to make sure we install that lock cylinder before we completely seat this in. As far as the lock cylinder, it has 2 locking tabs on it. If you were looking at the back side of your handle, you should find that you have a metal clip. This is the metal clip that we had removed originally to slide that lock cylinder out. For the installation, you don't have to have it removed. You can just slide the lock cylinder in. Listen for an audible click when that happens. Just bringing this down and in. Swing the top in as I mentioned. Let's get that lock cylinder in place. Now it's time for the lock cylinder. As far as this lock cylinder, we want to make sure we have it in the proper orientation. Now, as you look at it, you can see that you do have 2 locking tabs. Mine are up top and down bottom right now because I have to pivot it. But the way that I have this resting now shows what would be the top of this lock cylinder. You can see you have this nub that protrudes up. On the opposite side, you have a small groove that would fit into this. You really can't mix it up. We're going to make sure we have the rod facing towards what would be the front of the door here in comparison to the lock cylinder. Line it up, press it in. Okay, I can see it starting to come through here. I want to make sure it's lined up perfectly. The key would be going in straight up and down, heading in this direction. It wouldn't be side to side. Press it in. I heard that audible click. That's from my locking clip that's already installed on this handle. Now we can get this in position and we'll continue on along the inboard side. Let's have a quick look on the inside of the door here. There's something that I need to point out. This small rod here, this one leads to the door lock cylinder. The thicker rod, this is the one for the outside door handle. The thicker rod needs to be on what would be the outboard side, closest to the outboard side of the door, not the inboard side. If you have these mixed up, you're going to find that you have an issue. Double check prior to continuing on. Now we're going to continue on with the door handle hardware, but before we do so, just double check your rods. As I mentioned, the larger diameter rod leading from that door handle down to the door latch needs to be closest to the outside of the door. If it's on the wrong side of this rod, it's not going to align down at the bottom. Now we're not inserting that rod yet. We need to insert each piece of hardware holding the handle in place first. There's the first mounting nut. I'm going over to the other side. I'll repeat that exact thing here. Okay, they're both started in. Let's snug them up and then we'll continue in the center for our small bracket and Phillips head screw. Now I've got my small bracket. I'm going to get that in place. And of course my Phillips head screw. Right there is bottomed out. I'm just going to go a little further here. Make sure that's secured in place. That makes sure that the handle does not pull away from the door down along the bottom when you go ahead and pull on the handle. Just a quick inspection up here at that hardware. We've tightened all of it. Now it's time to reinstall that rod down along the lower yellow connector. As far as this rod, when you go to install it, you want to make sure you're not lifting up on it or pulling down on it. We just want to carefully bring it over so it's in place and then lock it in with the yellow locking connector here. Double check, make sure that's secured in place so it does not fall off while you're driving down the road. Now before we go any further, I like to keep this open so I can have a quick look in this area. I'm going to use my key and attempt to lock and unlock the door. As you can see, that functions properly. Now I'll take hold of the outside door handle. We'll give that a little tug. You can see that that rod does function the latch as it needs to. This is exactly what we want to see. Everything functions as it should. Let's just make sure there's nothing inside of the door, and we'll continue on with our vapor barrier. As for the vapor barrier, typically you can tell exactly where it needs to be. Just attempt to align it with where you had removed it. We're pressing it up against the door. We want to have a good seal all the way around. One last quick inspection in this area, and we can reinstall our door panel. Now, when we install the door panel, we're coming up nice and high first. We're going to press it up against the door, and then we're going to start pressing it down. We want to try to get this into the fully seated position. Now, once you feel as though you have it down far enough, we're going to continue on all the way around the door, driving it in up against the door, and then we'll just double check to make sure it's secured. We'll end up along the top and make sure this is secured as well. Make sure this is aligned. That feels good. All the way up along the top, we'll press this into position as well. There we go. Just listen for an audible click from that. On the upper corner, let's get ready to install the door lock knob. We need to make sure we can gain access to our door lock rod. Now, if you find you have trouble, you could use some long nose pliers. We'll take hold of that rod, carefully pull it into an area that we can line this up. Now at this point, I'm going to line this up. I'm pressing it down. I can release my pliers, and now we'll just start pressing this down. We want to have this in the unlocked position. Continue on with your locking tab. Now, as far as this locking tab, you can see that it does have a small groove. When we press this in, that groove is going to go around our rod. This is what locks it in position. Let's leave this in the unlocked position and we'll continue on. Moving along from there, we're heading towards where our inside grab handle is. Just behind here, you remember we had 2 Phillips head screws. Let's start in each and then tighten them. To install our 2 Phillips head screws, we'll just carefully get them in position, and of course once they're both started in, we'll snug them up. Okay, this is looking good. Let's make sure they're nice and tight. Next, we'll install our protective cover. As for the protective cover, we need to have it in this orientation. Just have a quick look. You remember there's 4 locking tabs. Let's line it up, press it in. Make sure it's secure. Now it's time to install our master switch panel here. We'll start with the large connector. Audible click from that, and it's secure. If you have a seat memory switch, install that as well. Slide it in, audible click. Let's make sure we tuck the wires down and in. Now we're going to start bringing this down. As you remember during the removal process, each side of the switch panel will have this one locking tab. There's one here, one on the other side. As we start lining this up, we're just going to press it down and through. Double check, make sure that's secured. Let's make our way up. As we make our way up towards the inside door handle, we need to make sure we can gain access to our electrical connector for our door lock. Just reach up in here. Let's go ahead and secure that in place. Line it up, press it in. Audible click from that, and it's secure. Now let's continue on with the rest of this. We're going to take the door handle, we're pulling on it, we're sliding it through the port on this bezel. Now we'll start bringing this into position. Press it in up against the door. Okay, friend, we finished the installation of our front outside door handle. The next thing we want to do is test the functionality. Perfect. Thanks for watching.
When only the best will do, demand TRQ. The only company that lets you view before you do. TRQ is committed to offering the highest quality aftermarket auto parts that are engineered for peace of mind. Thanks for using and viewing with TRQ.